Hi, good evening. My name is Jay Rothman, and welcome to Real Men, Real Talk Live. Hi, good evening again. I am the host of the show. My name is Jay. I'd like to introduce my co-host this evening, Josh Richard, coming in from somewhere in the Americas. We also have Evis Love Heath, the man of the land from down under. He refers to his home as Australia. Welcome to the studio, Ev.
Thanks for having me,
And of
brother.
course, we have Jeff Fasano. Today he calls Nashville, Tennessee home. We know what Nashville, Tennessee is all about. It's all about music and dance and connecting with people. A lot of beautiful people live in Nashville, Tennessee. Jeff, you are one of many out there. Welcome to the show tonight, Jeff Fasano.
Thank you, Mr. Rothman. Nashville is a wonderful, wonderful place for community.
Mm.
I found a wonderful community here.
Beautiful.
With that common unity being music, I guess, brother.
Yeah. Well, the world that I'm in, it's music and more music, but the people in that world, it's a wonderful community of people who, because Nashville is small, and it is a very small place compared to the places that I lived in, Los Angeles and New York, we all see each other when we can see each other often. Out and about. You never know where anybody's going to be, who's going to show up where. It's pretty cool.
Love that, man. Sounds like there's plenty of wins there then, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great community. What's really wonderful about it, it doesn't matter what level of celebrity you're at. It's just one wonderful place to live and a place where everybody helps each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not about opportunity. It's about how can I help you? What can I do for you? Let's do things together. It's a really cool place.
Beautiful, brother.
That sounds amazing.
It is.
I have to admit, I've never been. I have in all my years.
Well, don't come now. It's freezing.
Come here, brothers. Come here. We're on 90 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm about to go back to the beach, man. Come here.
This has been the coldest winter in the 4 years that I've been here. It has been cold every single day.
Very well. Rug up, brother. Rug up. What are we talking about tonight, Joe Roth, the man?
Yes. Well, tonight's topic is we decided in our production meeting, as you all know, we wanted to go light tonight. If there's such a thing as Real Men, Real Talk Live, us going light, we wanted to lighten it up a little bit. And so we decided to really focus on celebrating our wins. But before we go into celebration, I want to celebrate our viewers, our listeners, our audience. I want to thank those of you that decided to tune in live and be with us tonight and be part of this celebration, as well as those of you that catch us on replay. There is no right time or wrong time. It's your time. And so whenever you show up, we love you, we welcome you, we appreciate you. As a viewer and listener, if you hear something that you like or love, we invite you with love to tap your love button on your monitor and light us up tonight. Also, if you have any questions or comments for us, men, here, please drop them down in the comment section, and we will do our best to see it, receive it, and share it, and then respond to it. So, guys, we're talking about celebrating our wins, and this is an interesting statement because usually, in at least American modern society, celebrating a win, the opposite of that is that we're aware that there is a loss, or as some would say, there's winners and there's losers. And I think we're going to debunk that tonight because that, I believe, is truly a a 3D belief system that there's winners and losers. There are no winners and there are no losers. We are just human beings having the experience called life.
Mm-hmm.
And through each one of our moments that we may think is a loss or we may feel is really got a lot of heaviness to it, that we then beat ourselves up, we're going to dive into how can we flip the switch on that moment and actually turn it into a win in that moment. Mm-hmm. And so with that, I'm going to invite Evis Love Heath to warm us up one more time, get this show started, and why don't you jump right into how it is that you would like to invite us to celebrate our wins.
Hey guys, could I interject 1 second here?
Absolutely.
Just 1 second. In keeping in the vein that this is light, and since we started out with talking about music, what popped into my head right now, and we're with the theme of celebrating, I'd like everybody out there who's watching to pop in with a song that either has the title of Celebrate or in the lyrics Celebrate. Ready? Go.
Whoa. Love it. I'm trying to think too.
Oh man, let me go over it. I'll start inviting our guests in to answer that one. But great opener, brother. We've got something to think about already. Is that a win? I guess that's all a win is. But yeah, my brothers and sisters, as always, thank you from the bottom of my heart here in the land down under. I'm getting ready for this beautiful season. We're finally getting our summertime here, so man, I'm staying lit. I'm just about to get back to the beach after this show, try and really get in those sun rays and really celebrate the wins of the day. You know, I did a video this morning talking a little bit about celebrating the win and why so many of us, we tend to be connected and I guess programmed in a way that we loathe on many of the losses that may have happened within our lives. And, you know, from a science point of view, I know my man Josh Richer will probably dive in deep a little bit more about the brain mechanics side of things. But when we understand, you know, that science of the brain and that we are hooked up to see a lot more of the negative experience, I guess, within our day, it's really been able to understand how we can really flip that switch, reframe for me, some of that inner voice, some of that talk, that it allows us to really experience the simplicity, the subtle wins in our every daily life. Now, I know for me as a youngster, man, I was groomed hard to be a winner. Ev, you've got to go out there and get this so many runs in the game of cricket. Ev, you've got to be here to get a goal in the game of football, soccer you might know it as. Ev, you've got to do this to excel in your marks at your school. So we are programmed hard to win, win, win. And when we don't get to that point on our journey of that destination, many of us, we can huddle in and we get, you know, into what we may know as a loss state. So for me, on my personal journey and my development, on my awakening, I've been able to come to the realization that we never do have a loss. We only experience the lessons in life. And when we can see those subtle signs of what we may know as a loss, to actually experience it more so as a lesson, then each experience that we have in our life is going to be a win. So for me, my brothers and sisters, on my journey, I've had to get past the competitive side of who I was. I've had to get past the judgment side of who I was. I've got to get past the separated side of who I was. These were all things that really started to come into my awakening on my journey over the last decade that I've been able to become aware of and really see that, like I said, my brothers and sisters, we are experiencing a beautiful, beautiful, I guess, interchange of dark and light, whether it's a loss, whether it's a win, to really give us the full spectrum of what it is to be able to live as an infinite, unconditional love human being. So for me on tonight on Real Men Real Talk Live, I really want to dive in deep on ways to nurture the spirit, how to find that interconnection between your mind, body, and spirit. So you're never disconnected. So you're always giving yourself that win in life, no matter what it may be, who it may be with, or, you know, what experience that may bring your way. So yeah, brothers, I'm looking forward to diving in.
Dig it.
Very cool.
Beautiful opener.
Peace, brother.
Way to set it up. Let's dance. Let's celebrate.
Let's dance, brothers.
There we go. That's a song I was thinking of, Josh, myself. Ev, I love what you said. Like comparing, it's not a loss. It's about the lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another new. Let's call it a Real Men Real Talk one-liner right there. It's so powerful because what I've learned to embrace in my own journey is that even in those moments where I'm angry, I've been triggered, I feel sad, I feel hurt by something that just happened in that moment, I could easily get sucked into the vortex of the darkness, the heaviness of what the feelings that come up from that moment, that experience. But when I'm able to stop myself and pause in that moment and go right directly to the root, which is, what can I learn from this? Then I don't waste everything that happens for the next 15 minutes, hour, or 10 hours, or 10 days, ruminating in those toxic, negative feelings. But instead, when I can say, what do I learn about myself from this? What do I learn about people? What do I learn so that I don't have to go through this again, hopefully? There's where the lesson comes. And once I'm able to pause long enough, take a couple of deep breaths, get myself out in nature where the answers will come from within instead of in the home, but go out of the home into the home of nature where I get my downloads, I then get the answers. And then I could celebrate it. Because now I realize it's not about them. It's always going to come back to me. It's how I receive the information. And what do I do with it? So I just absolutely love that. By the way, Av, I want to just say, I love your beard. It's that you're a handsome man without the beard, just to go to you. But I tell you what, you just up-leveled yourself. You're looking absolutely handsome tonight, beautiful.
Oh, peace,
love your hair on your face.
Bit of white wisdom there too, brother. So it's coming in.
Right.
It's coming in.
White is wisdom.
White light, is it, Jeff? White light.
So anyway, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think of that, Josh, Richard? What I just shared with Ev, and what's your spin on it?
Oh man, I mean, it's like what stuck out that you just said, Jay, was that it's a lost moment if we don't dig through and find that little nugget in there, because there's always one. And you know, even in some of the worst experiences of my life, have given me the most beautiful gifts and lessons. And sometimes you got to be a little patient too. That nugget can come, you know, weeks or sometimes a month. Or I had a nugget in a lesson that came years later. But when it hit me, I literally broke down and cried because I was like, wow, that's what it was. That's what I couldn't see, and was the magic. So it's always there. And I love this conversation that we're opening up right now, because yeah, and it's so important that I put it in my morning routine, and I put this in my clients' routine. Is I call them attaboys or attagirls, and it's patting yourself on the back for something you've done, and it can be small. But I think what happens is a lot of times, or at least, you know, maybe for us guys, probably the women too, we get stuck on this treadmill of, you know, do, go, the grind and all of that. and with very little sympathy for how we may be feeling or how we may be driving ourselves, and especially not stopping and smelling the roses and celebrating our wins. So I'm just in love with this conversation and ready to let's bring it up tonight. Let's raise the roof.
I'm hearing it, brother.
Yeah, Josh, you just said it. A long time ago, something happened to me with a woman who was in my life at the time, and it really, really triggered me and hit me hard. And then I went to visit a friend, and he could tell, he could feel my energy, he could see, and he just stopped, and all he said was, "What's the gift? What's the lesson?" And it energetically, it stopped me in my tracks, because it was what happened really triggered me. He could feel it, he could see it, and he just said, he acknowledged everything. He goes, have your feelings, because that's really important. And he just said, just ask yourself, what's the gift? What's the lesson? And close your eyes, move within, and be with everything that happened, but ask yourself, what's the gift? What's the lesson? And like you just said, Josh, it may not come in 2 minutes, 5 minutes. It might, but it might come a day later, an hour later. But what that did was calm me down. Get out of my head. I stopped asking all the questions. I stopped beating myself up. I stopped asking why did this happen? Why did she do that, this, that, and the other thing? And it just brought me into a grounded place. When I closed my eyes, I said, what's the gift? What's the lesson? And I felt my energy just move in and relax myself. And it was an amazing lesson in that moment that I still use today. And it helps us, like Jay said earlier, like if something happens, you can ask that question. You can use a couple of other tools, because we want to have the feelings. We want the feelings to move through us, but we don't want to sink or indulge into the feelings. And that's what Jay was just talking about. What can arrest that moment that we are moving within so deep that can stop it? And saying, what's the gift, what's the lesson, can stop us to bring us into a place of the here and now. And then it shifts the energy into not so much celebrating, but a place of more optimism, like this was supposed to happen, this did, what's the gift, what's the lesson?
Love that. Love that. Before we go deeper in here, guys, I want to acknowledge any of our viewers, listeners that are new to Real Men Real Talk Live. Welcome to the show. Bob Phillips is a beautiful man. He's coming in on our feed out of our YouTube channel. We met him just a couple of days ago on a trail in Sedona, and he took us back out yesterday. We had an amazing time doing some primitive hiking, diving deep into the trails of Sedona. So welcome to the show, Bob Phillips. And of course, if you are new, let us know what city, state, or country you call home tonight, so that we can celebrate you. I'm here to celebrate Bob Phillips in this moment. Rayanne Gardner's coming in from Minnesota.
All right.
Bob Phillips' song, I guess, was "Good to Go" by John Corbett. Anyone know that song?
Good to go. No.
Good to go.
Rayanne says, I love how open you are to these topics. Great energy here. Ever hear anyone say to you guys, you need to lighten it up? I know someone told Fasano you need to lighten it up. Because I've had that said to me, on more than one occasion over my lifetime. But, what I really want to do, guys, is I really want to break down what is celebrating a win really, what does it mean? Because, for example, I remember when I landed at the time, it was the highest profile filmmaker that I was able to interview. And I had chased her 4 times or so, and I got turned down 3 out of 4 times. but I didn't give up because I didn't take it personally, which was a lot of growth for me. And the fourth time she said yes. And I remember I immediately wanted to celebrate it, but it wasn't the celebration that I think we're really going into tonight. It was the celebration from the ego state. And so in that moment, I actually gave myself permission to dance on the table, at the patio table by the pool. This is down in Scottsdale, and give myself 5 minutes to celebrate from an ego space, from up here.
Love that.
And then I said, I'm going to give you 5 minutes, ego, JJ, to celebrate. But after that 5 minutes, I want to go in and I really want to reflect on what it took and what did I learn about myself through this process that took almost a year to get her to say yes to come in and be interviewed by me. And it was such an incredible, beautiful experience because I had never celebrated a win like that prior. But it felt so authentic and it felt so real in that moment and so appropriate. And I loved how it turned out. She not only came in that one time, she came back a second time around. And what a beautiful experience for me to embrace it, giving myself permission to celebrate it, and high fives, and Mary gets home from work and I'm all excited. And again, but then I wanted to go deeper. I really wanted to look at it and learn more about me. So what do you make of that, Ev, about celebrating what's the difference between celebrating and celebrating? And how can you do it in balance, but still do it in a healthy way?
I like a couple of things you said there, brother. And, it's a beautiful story. I mean, for me, that whole idea of that celebration into the external, I mean, I know from my background, man, like my ideas of celebration, like I said at the opener, was the validation of the external environment giving me that acknowledgement in my life. Now, it had to be something outside of self. And I wasn't really recognizing my own value to acknowledge, the accomplishments that I was making within. You talk a lot about, that resilience, that patience. And this is what I talk about, some of these more subtle gifts that we need to acknowledge daily and celebrate daily. This is truly recognizing your greatness, my brothers and sisters, no matter how small or big a win may seem. But for me, like I said, with that ego state, it's always looking for that external validation of the outside world. Where now these days for me, Jay the Roth, man, when I celebrate, I meditate. I meditate my celebration, man. And I go over some of those subtle things, where I've come from to where I've come to who I've become on that process. And that's what we really start to see your true greatness, my brothers and sisters. But it's being able to sit in that stillness and be able to appreciate, like I said, the value that you do for yourself.
Yeah. I think that what to distinguish is when we celebrate, it's about, as Ev just said, if something wonderful happens to us in our life, are we celebrating because we've put a lot into that, and we're celebrating within ourselves, knowing that we put something into it. It's our talents and gifts. It's who we are. We're celebrating something that's internal, or are we looking at it for validation?
There you go.
This wonderful thing happened in my life. It validates me. And I think Ev said that. And or are we celebrating? For example, in my life as a photographer, I've gotten a lot of amazing photo shoots with a lot of amazing people. And there was a point, maybe 20 years ago, maybe even 15, 16 years ago, where if I got an amazing shoot, there was a part of it that validated me as being good, as being worthwhile, as being lovable, as being, this amazing photographer. So there was a validation until I started doing the inner work to realize that, wow, look at what I put into that to attract that in my life. Because of the work I put into studying my craft, wanting to get better at what I did, wanting to learn more, wanting to grow as a photographer, wanting to grow as a person. So then energetically, I started to raise my resonance and vibration and started to attract something that was of equal vibration and resonance as me. And the celebration is almost an affirmation of where we are.
There you go.
As opposed to a validation of, oh, I must be good. It's outside of me. So the thing to celebrate when wonderful things come into your life is you, is me.
Yeah.
I'm celebrating me.
Jeff, what do you make of what Jillian just said here? Strong egoic celebration can signpost us to our attachments.
No doubt.
That's got to make the Real Men Real Talk book.
Yeah.
We may have to vote on that one, but she's got my vote. That's a powerful statement right there.
The attachments being validation.
Right. But you see, that is what so many of us have been taught through home, through school, through the programming, through media, through movies, through digital print, TV, through even our preachers, our pastors, our rabbis, religion. We're taught to celebrate the victories. So where does that leave us when we're feeling down, when we went on that job interview and we thought we got it and we didn't? Where does it leave us when we thought we found our soulmate? And then over time, we lose what we had. Where does that leave us?
I can attest to being an artist and showing my work to 10 people, and 9.5 out of 10 times you get rejected. You're not going to get the job. It's no reflection on who I am or my work. And that's the thing about being an artist. I'm bringing my portfolio to 10 people. More than likely, 9.5 out of 10 times, they're going to give it back to you and say, thank you very much. So it's about not taking it personal, not even taking it anyway, as opposed to just working and working. And then eventually, it's that old salesman's adage, you go see 100 people. If one person locks in, you've had a great day. So it's not about taking it personally from an artist standpoint, because actors out there audition. They go to 10, 15 auditions, might not get the part.
Yeah. What do you guys make of what Rayanne here said? When I stopped looking for validation and learned to be grateful for the experience, more great experiences appeared. Josh, I'm gonna ask you to tell me more. What do you think she means by that?
Well, I mean, it's a beautiful statement that caught my eye when you posted it right away, Jay. Absolutely. I mean, we've talked about it on several episodes in the past. Gratitude is king and queen, and it can absolutely change all of our lives. And it does put that. It's sort of like the the bucket of water on the fire of the ego. It calms that fire and keeps us in the moment and brings us back to what's truly important, which is appreciating what we do have. But then she's absolutely right. What we put our energy into and put our consciousness thoughts towards, i.e. gratitude, then more things get highlighted in our lives to be grateful for. So the brain is this beautiful machine where we focus its attention and what we allow it to focus on, there will be more of in our lives.
Yeah.
And so it's this beautiful machine that feeds itself.
I love that. I want to share a long one here, a jazz star, because I think it's important for her perspective to be shared. She says, I don't think a good happy dance and release of energy is all ego. I find that a beautiful expression. I love dancing and movement. I often do that when I'm alone, so there's no external validation. It's just an expression of happiness. I am okay with that.
Yeah.
And so what do you make of that, Ev? What's your interpretation of what Jazz Star just shared?
Absolutely beautiful. I'm exactly the same. I love the dance, and that's part of the celebration. I guess it's part of the soul space, isn't it?
Yep.
You see little kids, man, they love dancing to the music. They've got freedom all written over their faces. It's coming back to that idea of that external validation when we're not seeking to please others, but more so about pleasing ourselves. We can have that more fun within our lives. That is innately a part of who we are. We just seem to have grown up too quick. And, there's a big thing here in the land down under, which is called the tall poppy syndrome. I know many people that, shy away from celebrating their wins because other people may get jealous about it. So, there's this thing about, really coming back within and not seeking that external validation that we're talking about or needing to please others, but more so to stay in contact and please yourself.
And I think that's kind of where I was going to go with it too, because I think my problem early on was that I was so hard on myself and put so much pressure on myself to succeed that when I finally allowed myself to celebrate, and that was a big thing for me. It was me acknowledging the hard work I had put in and actually sort of like giving myself credit, because I was so rough on myself before that I absolutely gave myself no room to celebrate. No, it was always just more, work harder, do more, and this sort of incessant drive. And so for me, I think it was very healthy to learn to celebrate, and it wasn't from an ego space. It was from a really needing to honor my journey space.
Yeah.
Right there. There you go, Josh.
Yeah.
Love that. Needing to honor my journey space.
Yeah, buddy.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's about the work that we put into it, and celebrating that. Hey, we have to pat ourselves in the back, because if we don't do it, nobody else really is going to do it, and we won't even know how to receive it if somebody else doesn't do it.
Mary Kelly just asked the question. She says, what's your judgment about the word bad? Maybe changing your attitude about that or it. So what does the word bad really mean?
In what context?
Again, this is a big...
We can use the word bad and mean good.
There you go.
Like, man, you're a badass.
I like it, Jeff.
That is man, what you're wearing today, I mean, actually what you did in that speech that you just gave to that whole group, that was badass, man.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't think Mary was inferring that. But,
because I'm bad.
Sing it, Ev.
Oh, I can't get those high pitches anymore, man.
I know, right? Oh my god.
Speaking of Christine O'Connell, she says almost feel failure is worse. I want to acknowledge Christine. I listened to a live she did today, coming in from my old town of Long Beach, California. And what I got out of her message today was just absolutely beautiful, was that she had this epiphany. She woke up, and I'm going to paraphrase what I heard, but she woke up today. And she woke up to the understanding that everything that happened in her life, the good and the bad, there's the word bad, over her lifetime, she thought was all part of one book. And I'm paraphrasing you, Christine, so please forgive me if I have it off a little bit, but a lot of us grow up believing that our life is really about different chapters in the book. And we keep going back to revisit prior chapters. And the epiphany that she had today, and she shared it so beautifully in a group that she and I are part of, is that she's ready to write a new book. She's ready. She doesn't need to write a new chapter. She realized when she woke up today that the life that she lived prior to this moment was part of the old book. But she's ready to put that book down and create a new book, brand new book, with all that she has learned over the past few years. And I just absolutely love that, because what I heard in her message was it was just this awareness, like she doesn't have to hold on to that heavy book anymore. That old book was big. I mean, it was decades. And she could let it go as she spoke from the shores right on the ocean coastline, the Pacific Ocean in Southern California today. She can let that go. She can let it go out. And she could now open her heart, open her soul to writing this new book.
Let's all celebrate that win.
Right? Is that not an amazing win?
Oh,
Absolutely beautiful.
She could celebrate and dance all the way down to Belmont Shores.
Exactly.
That is a badass lesson.
You jump from Belmont. Jeff, how do you know about Belmont Shore? That's pretty remarkable.
Jeff's been around, man. Jeff's been around.
Oh, yeah, I know.
He's a badass, man.
It's a badass.
Matter of fact, today, what Josh and I did a live early this morning, we're doing a sound check from where he's coming in from somewhere outside of this America in another America. He was wearing a shirt from Naples Fitness, which is another small community right next to Belmont Shore. So you guys got Southern California in your heart tonight.
Synchronicity going.
I don't know about that. But I like Belmont Shores.
You know, the last time I owned in Southern Cal was actually in Belmont Shore.
Wow.
You didn't know that?
Wow.
As a matter of fact, Long Beach is a pretty damn cool place.
It's pretty badass.
It is. It's badass.
In any event, Jillian says, let it all wash out and let the tides of nature return to us. Yes. Oh, my. That is wisdom dropping down from Scotland tonight. It's somewhere in the middle of the night, middle of the morning hours now, early morning hours in Scotland. Jillian Bowie, one more time, sharing her experience and her wisdom with us. So beautiful.
Bring it, sister.
That's it. Absolutely divine. Love it.
These tides of nature return to us the gifts.
I think that one's going to have to make the book too.
Wow. It's going to be some collection.
We'll have to vote on it, but it's so powerful.
There's a line in a song by The Who, the album Quadrophenia, and the song is called Drowned, but there's a line that Pete Townsend wrote. It says, "Let the tide in and set you free."
Love that. I want to acknowledge Sean Cudahy. Sean Cudahy's an amazing man making a difference in his world as a podcaster. Today, he says, coming in from the Northeast of the United States, it's amazing that there are people from all over the world learning how to love themselves better together. Thank you, Sean. I'll take that with humility and with love coming in from the Northeast of the United States. That's why we do what we do. And that's why you do what you do on your channel called Room 9. If you're not familiar with Sean Cudahy, viewers and listeners, he's got a podcast. He's making a difference in the world of mental health and addictions primarily. Beautiful man. I've interviewed him. He's interviewed me. Thank you for joining us tonight, Sean Cudahy, coming in from back east.
Thank you.
And Jay, I want to honor one of your wins really quick here, since we're celebrating, because maybe not a lot of our viewers know the true story of Real Men Real Talk Live. You've been at this for a while.
Yeah.
Even though it's only been the faces you see here for not even a year yet.
Yeah.
When did you start this, Jay, and why?
July of 2018, I finally had the courage to come in live by myself for the first time. It was an interview platform. I would just find men that were willing to come in and share their story of surviving to thriving, from plight to victory, celebrating their win or wins, lessons learned. And it was a beautiful platform, beautiful way for men to just begin to have courage to come in and share their own story, vulnerability at right forefront. And my wish was to create a platform where other men could feel at peace with themselves to share their story of how they were at the end of their road, whatever that was, whatever that looked like. And hopefully to touch other men and inspire, bring hope to men and women that may have a brother, that may have a partner, that may have a son, that may be a friend of someone, a man that's absolutely struggling and suffering. That it's possible that we could turn it around. We can flip the switch and improve our life. And so that was the first podcast. It wasn't a show, it was a podcast. For men to step into the studio and hopefully touch another man's life and inspire them. And so to be honest with you, Josh, I celebrate what we do every single day of my life today. A lot of people ask me if we get paid for this. And we don't, not yet. But I didn't do it because I wanted to get paid. I did it because I wanted to pay back. I wanted to pay it forward. That's one of the things that gives me the greatest joy in my life today, is doing what we do. And yeah, it's a celebration because, that wasn't who I was, and it's not how I showed up for others. I didn't know how to show up. Forget about others. I didn't even know how to show up for me. So yeah, thank you, Josh. And thank you guys for bringing this, my vision, my wish, my desire forward to a whole nother level by relaunching Real Men Real Talk Live. So thank you.
Hey, isn't that another wonderful celebration when we touch somebody else's heart, we touch somebody else's life, we shift somebody else's heart, their path, somebody learns something from this show. What an amazing celebration that is. See,
and if we think about it too, Jeff, like we're sharing, when we're getting vulnerable, we're sharing all of our worst times. And the nuggets that we pulled out of that those ripples are going out. So all of this that you're watching right now is because of all of our worst times.
Really?
Or AKA losses.
Yeah, lessons. Yeah, exactly.
The beautiful thing about this too, guys, is that even though we do what we do and we show up once a week live, we show up for each other throughout the week, through production meeting to connecting and being here for each other. It's understanding that at the end of the day, we're still human and we still are in the muck. We still are learning. We still are getting dirty. We still make missteps. Ev, thank you for acknowledging that today. I don't believe in the word mistakes because our intention isn't to take anything from anybody. I don't like that word mistakes. I like the word misstep. Now, the beautiful thing about a misstep is that we could dance our way right back into alignment. It may be a misstep in a moment. Believe me, I watched Mary take a bad step today into a very sharp cactus that cut her, and she was bleeding through her jeans. And that was a misstep. But in that moment, I went right to, okay, what's the lesson? What do we learn from this moment? It doesn't mean we're not going to step into a bloody mess again, but it means that we're going to go step into it, hopefully with more awareness next time. But we're human, and these missteps are going to happen. You know, every week I have an opportunity to clean up my side of the street and make amends when amends are needed. But at the same time, celebrate the little things, even write down and knowing when it's important to set a boundary for ourselves and for our relationship with somebody else. I remember the first time I did that, that was a huge one. The first time I had the courage. Any of you guys remember the first time you had courage to set a boundary with a friend or a loved one? What did that feel like? Were you able to celebrate that for yourself?
Frightened the hell out of me. It was a woman. Well, actually, let's even take a step back. I never even knew how to say no.
The yes man, the yes man.
And if it was like if somebody came, Jeff jumped. It was really interesting. And the first time that a woman asked me to do something, and I knew that I really couldn't, and I had other priorities, I would always say yes and drop my priorities. And then when I started to learn more about myself, why I did those things, and then when the situation came up again, as the universe will always give us, it's going to come. I remember the first time that I said no. It frightened the heck out of me. And the reason why it did is because I was in that moment making myself a priority, which we should do all the time. You have to make ourselves the priority first. Then we learn how to make others' priorities or others' needs as important as ours. But I was taking care of my needs in that moment because I had other priorities by saying no. And what my attachment to that was, if I take care of my needs and I say no and set a boundary, they won't love me.
Yeah.
And when I remember the first time I did it, I almost stuttered to get it out, and I was frightened to death to say no, and I did. And then the person at the line goes, "Oh, okay, call me later." It was amazing how much my nervous system created so much drama around something now that's very easy for me to do, but my nervous system created so much drama. My inner child was quaking in his boots, and all I wanted to say was, "You know what? No, I can't right now, but maybe tomorrow morning we can do it." And you think about that, and it was terrifying for me to do that, and because my nervous system was not used to doing that. So I created so much drama around something that is now so simple, and it wasn't 15, 16, 17 years ago.
And how did you celebrate that win, my brother?
I exhaled. It was I didn't even know what. I was in my apartment in New York City, and I didn't know what to do. But I hung up the phone, and I remember just standing there. And then my phone was in the corner of the room, just standing there. I hung up. This is before cell phones, guys. And I hung up the phone, and I had my landline. I just looked, and my heart was racing My body, what my, you know, my physical body was just reacting to it because it was all new to me. My nervous system. I remember I was shaking, and I had to stop, and then I just went out for a walk, and then came back, and, you know, in Manhattan. But I remember that like it was yesterday. Wow, I totally forgot that, but now I do, and I remember how I felt. It was terrifying.
Beautiful, bro.
Wow.
Yep.
I had a quick story. I worked with a stage manager named Jon Stewart, not the comedian Jon Stewart, but he managed huge productions like the Oscars and Emmys and stuff like that. And he told me this story of when he stood up for himself for one of the first times. And the show had reached out to him. And I guess I could say the name of the show. It's now off the air. Fear Factor reached out. And John was sort of like, I don't really want to do Fear Factor. This show sounds kind of people eating weird things and doing this. He's like, I kind of felt like he was above it, and he didn't really. But as the guy was pitching this idea to the producer was pitching the idea on the phone, John was like, all right, well, he's thinking to himself, what would it take? What his boundary? What would it take for me to get out of bed to do this thing? And so he came up with this huge number in his head. And it was something like, it's like 6,000 a week, 9,000 a week. I mean, it's something crazy back then, and unheard of for a stage manager. So the producer finally said, you know, hey, do you want to do this thing with us? And he goes, yeah, but here's, you know, my boundary. It'll take me $9,000 a week to get out of bed for this thing. Producer was like, what? This is ridiculous. I can't believe you're gold digging. This is nuts. Whatever. Basically yelled at him, cursed him out, and hung up the phone. And John was like, all right, whatever. I'm cool. 2 weeks later, the producer called him up and said, okay, we want you on the job. They said he did it for 3 years and he said he was happy doing it because that was his boundary. And that was his win. And he was so proud to tell that story because he just loved that he stood up for himself and said, and, you know, completely faced those fears. Like you're saying, Jeff, huge fears.
Yeah. I've never heard that before referred to as a boundary, setting a boundary around money.
Yeah.
I haven't ever heard that statement before, but wow, that can really potentially be a game changer for so many people that have a dysfunctional relationship with money and finances.
Yeah.
And when we're able to, I'm going to hold on to that statement, Josh. When we're able to really set a value on what we are worth, that is the boundary.
Yep.
And so what does it mean, though, do you think, if you set that boundary around worth? And Jeff, I'm going to invite you to answer this because you just set a boundary for yourself on negotiating a deal for coming up this week. What happens if you don't get the gig? How do you then, what's your relationship with that boundary? Then how do you navigate through all the reasons or the stories that you create around why you didn't get the job, why you didn't get the gig?
I think it's a lot like Jon Stewart. What is it going to take for me to get out of bed to do this? But it's about knowing your worth.
There you go.
And coming into that place of this is what I'm worth. For me, you know, this week it wasn't a crazy figure, but it was like this is what I'm worth, and here are all the boundaries that I'm going to give you for that, with that come along with that, and this is what I'm worth. If we know that inside of ourselves, there's no negotiation inside of ourselves. When we negotiate, we then start to tend to doubt our worth. There is an actual physical, you know, if you put a number out there and you want the gig, and they say, well, that's not quite what we're thinking, and stuff like that. I said, then you might negotiate and talk about it, and then you might come to some common ground. But it really comes down to our worth, not only our self-worth, but the worth of our gifts and talents. Like, why did you call me to ask me to do the gig? Because you like my work.
Right.
Okay.
I love that, Jeff.
Yeah.
Jillian says, knowing your worth and knowing that doesn't falter no matter the outside situation. So I'm going to share a very personal story with you guys and the viewers. You guys know the backstory, but I was hired without a written agreement, a verbal agreement, to do a gig for Tony Robbins, who was coming in with his elite clients into Sedona this fall. And I had a price, and I set a boundary. And 2 weeks prior to the gig, they wanted to renegotiate with me, cut my numbers in half. Now, I don't know too many people in my personal circle that wouldn't have been willing to renegotiate. But I said, no, thank you. Because I said to his representative, would Tony renegotiate after it was agreed upon? Why should I? And I'm not even demanding the $1 million a day gig that Tony gets to stand on stage. For me, it's about if I was willing to take that gig, because then I'd have that on my resume, I would have been selling my soul. And I don't care who it is. I said, not now, not today. No, thank you. And I didn't do it. Now, in that moment, I had to work through a few things. But the most important lesson that I worked through was that I trusted in that moment, faith over fear. And I trusted, and I know that the universe has something way bigger for me than that gig with Tony and his 17 or 18 top paying clients that he coaches, that I was going to do a hike and heel experience with. I was willing to walk away because I knew that the universe is not going to let me down. Now, I don't have my answer yet, but I'm at peace with that today because I'm at peace with what I chose to do. John Stewart had a different happy ending than I did in that fear factor experience. But I believe someday, some way, somehow, I'm going to end up in Tony's view. Perhaps I'll be on his stage one day, sharing with you guys as part of what we're doing. I don't know. I don't have to know the answer today. But I know is that we all are worth something. And who is it that needs to establish what our value is to somebody else? If we don't believe it, how are they going to believe it? And even if it means walking away from having that on your resume, I don't have a resume today. I don't want to have a resume today. There's just a piece of paper. It's coming from an ego space. It's like having a plaque on your wall. I had a whole wall filled with them. No more. I threw them out. I retired them. In any event, we are coming up on the hour, guys.
Wow, Jay. One thing you just said there, man. If we don't believe it, how can they believe it? Yes. I love it, brother. I love it.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. It's, we have to know our worth. And then, sometimes it just takes to say, no, maybe that is your win, Jay, was the fact that you said, no, folks, no. I mean, really, no.
Yeah. For me, it came down to it's called integrity.
And dignity.
Really. It's like,
But-
no, it doesn't work for me. No. It's like really that simple. It's like, nah, I don't think so.
Well, you know what? Here's what I love about Christine O'Connell. When we say no to somebody else, what we are saying is yes to us,
Right.
yes to ourselves.
Mm.
And you know what's behind the yes? What's behind the yes is the truth. What's behind the yes is we know the truth.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how I work through it is I just said, you know what? They're just not ready for me. That's why it didn't work out. And or I just have a few more things that I have to do to be prepared. Maybe I wasn't ready for them.
But if we also look at it energetically, where we are at a resonance and vibration within us,
Mhm.
we raise that resonance and vibration with love, with spirit, with integrity, with honesty, with honor and value, and we raise that resonance and vibration, and we don't get that gig, it's not in line with us energetically.
Exactly.
100%.
Jeff, you nailed it. And ultimately, that's why I said no. Because I knew that if I took it for all the wrong reasons, which is what most people, the majority of people would have encouraged me to do for the experience, for the resume, I would have gone into that with a resentment. I would have gone into it with a chip on my shoulder because I knew that I sold myself. And I did not, even if I did it for the half price that they wanted me to do it for, take my number and cut it in half. For me to do that, I would have sold them short because I wouldn't have shown up energetically aligned and given them what they deserved at that higher price or at that lower price.
Yep.
So it wasn't a win-win. It was going to be a lose-lose. They thought they were going to win because they got me at a lower price. But they would have lost too because I wouldn't have showed up for them. And I knew that. And that's not how I choose to show up today for people. If I can't show up and be in 100%, then I'm out.
Yep.
Whether it be in friendships or relationships with strangers or people I know. In any event, that's how we get to celebrate today. That's what winning is about. Winning is about growth. Winning is about really understanding what's important in our life. And with that, it's that time, guys. We're well over the hour now. Let's do a round of musical chairs, magical chairs. Let's move things up and down and all around. Ev, I'm going to invite you to jump in.
Yeah.
Musical chairs, how it works is we each have 2 to 4 minutes to share either tips, tricks, or tools on how to celebrate wins. Or any takeaways.
Can I just say one thing here? Ev, I'm so friggin' envious of your friggin' tan.
That's what I call getting my black on, Jeff. My black on.
My name might be Fasano, but my mother was Irish. And I got freckles and I've got white Irish skin. As George Carlin once said, I just get into the sun and I burn and peel.
I celebrate that as a win, brother, every day that, I show gratitude for that I'm able to step out in the sun and really be able to capture those rays, man. So no, never goes a day where I don't think where I'm at, my brother. And what a beautiful show. Jay, that story, man, so powerful. And, as we come into this year, when I settled down on a couple of things that happened very similar to me at the end of last year that I've only touched on. I think I had a bit of a yarn with Jeff about. Very similar story, Jay. So there's some definitely alignment there going on, man. But I'm celebrating that win with you, my brother. My brothers and sisters, as always, thank you from the bottom of my heart for jumping in on Real Men Real Talk Live tonight. Just remember, just a quick CTA, get us on Stitcher or Spotify now. If you want to listen to us on audio, otherwise, jump over at YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to us on our channel over there. Because obviously, we can share this message out into a wider audience. The algorithms start picking it up. And like the brothers are saying, we pay this forward. We don't get paid. We just get paid to share our love, our knowledge, and our experiences. And, to have your support, the show wouldn't exist. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And one thing we didn't touch on, I don't think really, that I wanted just to lightly touch on to keep our brothers and sisters lit, were some of these ways to nurture our spirit and keep us lit in maybe some of these times we've really experienced through 2020, that, you know, how to pick ourselves out of the fall. How can we rise above when all feels down and out? You know, I shared on a couple of few things that I shared on a video of mine this morning. And one of those things was really, you know, stepping out of that comfort zone. One of those comfort zones for me, you know, it may seem funny, but, you know, I'm stepping out in nature every day. A lot of people freak out and they say, but what about snakes and what about this and all that? You know, it's okay. I'm stepping out in nature. We are nature, my brothers and sisters. Why not nurture your nature with Mother Nature? You know, one of those other things for me, it's really putting down what you want to see in your daily life. There never, ever goes a day without me writing down my mission, my purpose statement, my affirmation, whatever you want to call it. Write down, like our sister said out there, start writing down the chapter, the first chapter of your book that you want to start seeing out here in 2021. You know, it may be something as simple as, you know, we have a soul soup cafe here where you may go and volunteer, you know, support others that, you know, may not be as fortunate as where you may be at this time. This is going to help light you up and be able to help you celebrate a mini win. You know, my meditation daily without failure, it works into my visualization. If there's something I didn't like through the day, which I review each night before I go to sleep, then I review the day as if I wanted to see it a particular way. So we are literally writing our own story. We start to take the ownership. We start to create or come into the creative space and be able to open up room for the expansion and the growth of what we do want to see out in our world. One of those other things, and we've talked about this on other show, feed your passions. This really celebrates your wins. You know, if you love writing, like our sister out there, then start writing a book. You know, if you love painting, start picking up a paintbrush. All these finer, subtle things which allow us to really celebrate some of those wins when we are in tough times. But the last one for me too, to really help celebrate and really keep you lit and nurture that spirit into your wins, is spend time with your loved ones. You know, I talked about over Christmas how there was a few years back, where I actually declined from celebrating in Christmas, you know, because of an ego state with one of my belief systems. And to spend that time with loved ones and those small things that we may see really do become the big wins within our lives. So my brothers and sisters, there's just a couple of little tips, tricks that I use in my daily life to hopefully help you to be able to celebrate some of those wins and realize that there is never a loss. It's only lessons that we learn. So yeah, my brothers and sisters, a couple of things there that help you nurture the spirit.
Love it. The loss to lesson. Such a good one.
I'm just taking a moment here for us just to pause so that we can receive and digest and process whatever's just shared. You're up, Mr. Jeff Fasano.
Jeff Fasano.
Following Evis Heath.
You know, what Evis does is he rolls out the red carpet. He sets it up.
Yes, he does.
Table.
Yes, he does. That's how I look at it.
I know.
Like Ev opens up this big door and with a beautiful red carpet that lets us use all of that amazing energy and warmth and love and intellect of all of this that astounds me, that I learned from. every week, and so often, even in our personal conversations, I've learned so much from this day, and from everybody, which I celebrate this show so much. I've grown so much with you guys. Really, you've opened my heart. I found a whole new way of intimacy, of being in intimacy with people, with you guys, and it's opened up my heart so much being on this show. And now I'm going to get emotional, but
Beautiful.
I don't know where that came from. That's
No. What? You don't need to go. But what's coming up for you right now, Jeff?
Oh, just so much. It's so much celebration and love for you guys and for what we're doing. And my heart just opens up more and more, and has been opening up more and more in the last, probably when we started this show 8-9 months ago, and probably even longer than that. And so grateful for what I learn every single week, what I've learned in doing this and being open to learn and to shut my mouth and close my eyes and totally receive the knowledge and the love and the energy that you guys have. And then I'm also doing it with other people in my life as well. And I'm learning more and more in my life to open my heart to receive love, and that there are people who care, and it's something that is opening my heart more and more, and getting more comfortable in that intimacy and that intimacy with myself. And what I was given this week by my friend Ron Baker, who I've been working with now for about 8 months. Wonderful healer. His body of work is called Empowered at Last. And Ron is an amazing guy I've known for 20 years. And he gave me this little exercise that I thought was a little exercise, but it is an amazing exercise. And he asked me, he said, Jeff, what I'd like you to do from now on is every morning write down 3 memories in your life, 3 experiences in life where there was love and joy in it. And I started doing that exercise earlier in the week, and it is amazing what I realized. There is much more joy and much more love in my life that I never knew, because all of these experiences were coming up, and I was naming more than 3, 5, 6, and I go, I'll hold off and I'll write 3 more tomorrow. And it just made me realize, and what it does, it keeps us in this place of celebration. It keeps us in a place of love. It keeps us in a place of joy within us, because there's so many experiences that I've had in my life where there was a lot of love, where there was a lot of joy. And I'm even going back to when I played Little League Baseball. It's amazing exercise to do that just shows us how much joy and love there is. But what I'm learning is when I go to those experiences, I went, man, where was I? And I can see how in my process, how shut down, or at minimally where my heart wasn't open to fully receive in the moment. And now with these experiences that happened 5, 10 years ago, I sit, because part of the exercise, he said, Jeff, just don't write them down and go, oh, wow. Write them down, and then go through one at a time, close your eyes and move into it and feel it. And that's what I've been doing. And now it's about, wow, I'm receiving so much more in this little exercise that I've been doing for now 4 days. So I pass that exercise on to everyone out there to, give it a shot. Jay and I and Mary are doing the Artist's Way. and it's a lot of writing in the morning. So if you can, at one point of your day, write down 3 memories, 3 moments in your life where there was a lot of love and where there was a lot of joy, and keep this exercise going for an infinite amount of time. And I think you'll see that there's an awful lot of joy and an awful lot of love that is in your life and has been in your life.
Love it, brother. Love it.
So tough following you guys up. Just beautiful wisdom. I echo Jeff that I've learned and grown so much through all of you guys and the show, and I'm so grateful. And Jay, thank you for bringing us all together. Thank you for having your courage back in 2018 to step out alone on the airwaves, because it was just something you felt you had to do. And thank you for honoring that and listening to that and bringing us all together here tonight. That beautiful path has brought us all here in this moment. And so I'm just grateful for that, and all of you guys, of course. I have learned what that intimacy can be between guys, other people, strangers around the world, and what it's like to show up without a plan, with trust and surrender as our only bag that we carry, and walking into a big room of the unknown and saying, all right, this is where we're going to be tonight. And that always turns out so, I'm blown away at how beautiful and how it always just turns out exactly what it needs to be. And for a guy who spent his entire life planning, organizing, having backups on my backups, and getting stuck in my head for the majority of my life leading up to 3-4 years ago, it still feels strange to walk into the unknown. And we've called it out tonight. We are still students, but I am never let down when I lean into trust and surrender. And so I just want to say thank all of you for holding this space for us to just show up together and all see what unfolds every week. So I'm gonna close with a moment of gratitude just for all of you guys. I love you guys. And thank all of you out there for showing up with us. It truly is a collective. Oh no, Jay, you're muted.
Tracy Smith says, a joy to catch you all tonight. It's been a while since I've caught you live. Katrina May, coming in from Vancouver Island, British Columbia, says, I get way more value and depth from the conversations on this show than some of the long-term groups I have been part of. So much here to take away. That's a win right there. This is what winning is about. This is about us showing up unscripted, having no idea where each show topic is going to take us or lead us. But as you just said so beautifully, Josh, just trusting and honoring and respecting the process of allowing it to just unfold, unscripted, unedited. That is how we grow. So many of us men were taught how to cross our T's and dot our I's. And when you don't do it right, go back and do it again until you get it right. And that was a cocktail for disaster. Because ultimately, what that message was, strive for perfection. And that means that there's a judge. Who's judging that? We don't even need a judge outside of ourselves, because we know when we haven't crossed our T's or dotted our I's just right, or at the right angle, or the right color. What I challenge you, my friends, my brothers, my sisters, is that we break free of all those boundaries and parameters around what we were taught was right or wrong, good or bad, winners or losers. Do you see what I'm saying? We live in societies that are very black and white, very structured, because as long as there's black or there's white, there's walls around, we're safe. We're told to believe that that is how we are safe. And I call BS on that. That is a belief system. BS. I invite you to stop judging yourself as right or wrong, good or bad, winner or loser. But see yourself as who you are. And who you are is not who you think you are. But who you are is right here. Your heart space, your soul speaks to you. We're so busy focused on crossing our T's and dotting our I's that we miss the most important wins in our life. There is only one win that I wake up to every single day. And that win is called breath. Because with breath, we have infinite possibilities. We just have to have the courage to show up for ourselves, grow up for ourselves, as I said so many times on this show, and celebrate you. Celebrate the littlest things that are working, and celebrate the lessons that you learn from the loss. But just celebrate. And how I do that, here's my tip and trick and tools for tonight, is I honor myself. I respect myself. And I work at loving myself. And the gateway to all that is through self-care. Not through self-sabotage, but through self-care. I listened to you, Evis, tonight on your walkabout in nature. And I had just come off of, 2.5 hours myself. And I love you. I get you. We may be across the pond, across the world, but you're doing what I'm doing. You talked about rituals today. I refer to them as non-negotiables. We speak the same language, guys. But more importantly than the language, it's what we do. It's how we show up. I heard someone recently say, a mentor say, it's not the words we speak, but it's the behaviors that our children are watching. And our children become us. So it's time to not only speak the words, but take the action so that you have something to celebrate. And tomorrow when you wake up and you open your eyes for the first moment, take a moment to celebrate that. Take a moment to take a second breath and thank the universe, thank God, thank the divine for giving you one more moment at this thing called life, to live it, to love it, to learn from it, and to laugh through it. And with that, I love you guys. Viewers, listeners, please share it out. Please share this with your friends and family. You can be a change maker through sharing out this show. Invite those that you care about to check us out and become part of the family, become part of what we're all doing, touching lives one day at a time. With that, I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us on Real Men, Real Talk Live. We'll see you next week on same time, same station, YouTube and Facebook. Love you guys.